Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I am Carolyn Hymas, and I'm the Associate Director of Alumni and Family Engagement at Cal Arts. And we've got a really great talk for you this afternoon on personal branding with Pearly Pearl. She's an alumnix of our School of Art, as well as a mentor in our Alumnix to Alumnix Mentor program. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Pearl to get us started.
Hi, guys. It is so wonderful to be here. I am really excited to be part of this, and our talk today is going to be quite fun. I'm hoping to, get to know a lot of you during this process, and I'm also hoping that we can be as interactive as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, hey. So welcome to the talk on personal branding. I am going to get started here. I'm curious to know how many of you here at the talk are feeling confident about your personal brand. We can do hand raising. We can do emoji hand raising. Nobody? Well, all good. If you're feeling confident or not, this is going to be very helpful for you. We're going to go through a couple tips and tricks that my experience has taught me, and we're going to talk about some core fundamentals that will be advantageous for your own personal identity and developing that through whatever visual means, whatever communication means. So moving forward, I want to open up with a therapy standpoint, getting into the details of the emotional side of things, the emotional thesis, if you will. Your personal brand starts with you. So you, as you know, are a complex, sentient, emotional being with endless depth and life experience. You are the one who drives your ship every single day. You are in charge of your personal brand, and it's so important, and I can't stress the importance of really tapping into your emotional self for everything you do, whether that's your developing your brand identity for yourself or even down to the projects that you put yourself into. So a lot of people don't quite understand what exactly is a brand. I am going to pivot here and have Mr. Marty Newmeyer explain that to you.
Let's start with what branding isn't. It's not a logo. A logo is a very useful tool for a business, but it's not the brand. It's a symbol for the brand. A brand is not a product. So when people talk about this brand, buying this brand or that brand, they're really talking about buying one product or another product. People say the brand is a promise the company makes to customers, and there's some truth in that. I mean, it does end up acting as a promise, but that's not what it is either. A brand is a result. It's a customer's gut feeling about a product, a service, or a company. It ends up in their heads, in their hearts. And so in a sense, when you create a brand, you're not creating one brand, you're creating millions of brands, like however many customers or people in your audience. Each one has a different brand of you. So a brand is like a reputation, right? So it's your business reputation, and everyone's going to be a little bit different about what that reputation is. And that's okay, as long as you've got it corralled mostly where you want it and that it's beneficial to the company.
If you guys haven't heard of this man, Marty Newmeyer, I highly recommend you take some time and do some research on your own and learn about the things that he has to say. He's pretty fantastic. So a brand is a gut feeling about a person, organization, a company that this is influenced by their visual aesthetic, sound of messaging, and overall positioning within their market, your market. So that's a truly fantastic statement. Because what does that say to you? It says that, you are your perception, the perception that people have around you means something. So we're going to take that idea and move it forward into this presentation in a way where, well, what do we do with that information? Now, taking the idea of perception we're going to look at a couple logos, and I want everyone to sort of get a gut reaction from those logos. When you see Starbucks, what does that say to you? How do you feel? It to me feels like I have a safe and comfortable space where I can meet my friends, drink some coffee, and enjoy and work all day. There's this feeling that I get of safety. It's fantastically powerful when I see this logo. Target. So what does this logo say? I feel like when I see this, I know I can get all of my basic needs met in one place, that I have good design tastes, and I can have parties at my house, and I can win friends. And, there's this core fundamental thing that's going on where it's like, my needs are good. Like I got Target, we're good. It's a very positive feeling. What's this one? So with Apple, my gut reaction, at least, I feel part of something bigger than myself. I feel like I now have the tools to achieve my greatest potential with my clients, and I can be the hero to my clients. And that's, a huge success story. Obviously, Apple is worth $2.3 trillion. What do these three companies have in common? They have all successfully positioned their customers as the hero in what is called a brand story. Taking a step back, and we'll get into brand story here, all this will make sense. So building a personal brand versus an organization or entity, what's the difference? It's actually not much fundamentally. So an organization is not about one person, but a group of people coming together to create one or more beliefs, and they have an ultimate goal to inspire customer action in the form of sales, sign up, whatever motivation that makes sense for that company. Branding for a company is, in my experience, pretty selfless. As a creator going into an organization that's formed, you don't have your ego. You're basically like, what's the goal? What is the brand goal? I'm going to use my personal experiences, of course, to do the project, but it's really about the brand and the brand's needs, and that message that we're trying to create within that project. So, you're no longer yourself creating a brand experience, but you're more of a vessel of human experience, offering that up to align with a goal outside of yourself. Whereas being repeaty, a personal brand is how you as the individual is perceived amongst your peers, someone's gut reaction about you. So you curating your highest self and presenting in such a way where your personal goals and ambitions get ultimately met, because that's the basis, right? We want our goals to be met as designers. So I'm going to do my best to tell you my story real quick. I don't like talking about myself. But for me, my personal brand journey began when I was terrified of flying airplanes. I talked to a friend of mine who is actually trained to be an astronaut, and she's a fantastic human being. She said, "Oh, you're scared of flying? That's crazy. Why don't you go and take a discovery flight and go to a flight school and try to fly yourself?" And I'm like, "Well, that's an interesting thought. What if I face my fears and, try this thing?" Crazy. I tried it. I feel insane for doing it, because I'm like, terrifying, right? So I go in and I'm white knuckling this yoke in this airplane, and I realize as I'm looking down at this beautiful landscape, I'm like, I'm not dying. Everything is great. I'm actually really enjoying myself, and I start to relax. So I found my love for aviation in this journey, which is hilarious because it ended up leading me down a creative path. I'm a designer and a brand strategist. I run a creative agency in Los Angeles, and I've been working with musicians, and I've been working in technological companies that are focused on doing, crazy things in the way of photogrammetry and AR and VR. I work with celebrities and entertainment businesses. So I'm like really in love with this thing, aviation, and found myself, veering into this whole world that exists, and eventually found myself loving aerobatic flying. So I would go to this airport, it's called Santa Paula, which is about an hour and a half from my house. And I would meet my CFI, which is my certified flight instructor, to get my private pilot's license. And one day I showed up and there's a group of people all hovering around a very expensive, beautiful airplane talking about, aerobatics. And I'm like, well, CFI, who's that? He looks over and he's like, that's Rob Holland. And, for all of you non-airplane, people out there, Rob Holland is arguably the greatest aerobatics pilot ever in the world. So I meet him that day and I'm starstruck because I get starstruck by airplane pilots. It's hilarious. And all of a sudden I'm working with this person, developing that man's personal brand. So he became part of my creative journey, and I'm actually very much ingrained in the world of aviation at this point. I work with Red Bull. We do filming projects for the helicopter pilot, Aaron Fitzgerald. Anytime there's an airplane, anything going on, I'm there with a camera, I don't care. So working, with what I do and taking it into aviation is part of my brand journey and has really wrapped into my story. That's a little background on me. These are a couple of projects that I've done from a high end. I'll do advertising projects. I'll work with artists, and we recently did an Apple Maps campaign. This is Rob Holland over here, flying inverted over a plume of fire. He's fantastic, that man. I worked on Linkin Park before they, sadly, Chester passed away, the lead singer. The Lumineers, Cleopatra was a rollout campaign that my company worked on. We worked on the American Meme. So lots of really fantastic projects that I have found in my life. Okay, moving on. So what about your personal brand? As we know, the things that we've put together in our minds of what we need to do basically to develop our personal brand is have a mission, have an image, figure out what our values are. So what's something that we don't really think about is positioning. And I don't know anyone here really understands positioning, but I'll go ahead and define it. Brand positioning, is how consumers identify and connect with your personal brand. So this is what makes you different in the marketplace. It's what makes you stand out. It's what is your unique value proposition, and what do you offer that sets you apart from your peers? Fun fact, everyone, I hate the word original. It gets thrown around a lot. I'm in a meeting and people are like, oh, we need something, a really original idea, guys. And I'm just like, oh, I feel like, what's really original, I think what we take from that is we're all curators. I like to distinguish it. This is my personal ideas here. So I like to, instead of using original, I like to think of myself as a curator of concepts from the things I see and I touch and I experience and the places I go. I'll go to France to the Rodin Museum and I'll look at a beautiful marble sculpture and marvel at the way the sun is shining on it and the reflections of the light. And I'll say, oh my gosh, that would be a beautiful color for so-and-so, or that texture would just be fantastic placed in this other project I'm working on. So curating these moments in life is really, I think, more accurate. So this is kind of funny, but I had to do this too. And of course, there's aviation right here involved in the top left. So everything that we do is really taken from nature, right? We think about that. The birds, the flying, and the cat night vision, fantastic. So just to further drive the point home. So instead of using original, I like to use refreshing, clever, humorous, emotive, and compelling is my personal favorite. I drop compelling all the time. All right, so now I've given you guys the spiel. Where do we begin? I pulled this off the internet. Of course, we want all of these things within developing our personal brand. We want a purpose. We want core values. This is a resume. It's great, but this is not what we're focused on today. These are things that you need to do. Of course, you need to figure out all of these different elements here. But what the most important thing that people tend to forget to prioritize in the brand journey, personal brand journey, is story. I don't know if any of you have heard about the hero's journey, but we're going there. It's that taking your customer on a story arc from the ordinary to the extraordinary. So we know this is a formula that works. It's, you know, either you heard of this before or it's the first time you're seeing it, but we'll be getting into a little exercise later that can help sort of solidify and give you an idea of how to place this within your own personal brand story. So we just learned what is story. Who are you within that story is key, because you as a creator go out every day and you're living these different stories. You're interacting with clients, you're interacting with people you work with. So who are you? You're this guy, you're Yoda. Who are your customers? This guy, the hero. So what's really fantastic about positioning yourself as a mentor, everything you do, positioning yourself as a mentor, and then having your customers be the hero, brings you back to the three logos that we were looking at up here. What do these guys have in common? That their customer is positioned as the hero. So taking that into account, when you're interacting with a customer and you are the guide, you're ultimately becoming somebody in their lives that are going to help them achieve their goals. So you have a conversation with a client and they have a need. They have a startup, and let's say they're working on a nonprofit surrounding regenerative agriculture, and it's such a complex topic and they don't know how to talk to their audience because they know they can change the world. They have this idea and it's fantastic and they know it's going to work, or they have self-doubt because they are trying to tell people about their great idea but they don't know how. You come in as a creator and you say, oh, you know, I know how to speak that language. I can take that complicated information and distill it down to something digestible and concise so that your audience can click, can purchase. So whatever it is that you're doing in your life, if you're a graphic designer, your customer is going to have an issue, right? They're going to have a problem and you're going to be able to solve it with what you do. And it's about finding what that ongoing thread of an issue or problem is that your customers have. And that's part of your brand story. That's part of, you know, the Luke Skywalker Star Wars story that you're creating in your own personal brand journey. So different mentors and heroes. You know, you have, anyone seen Ratatouille? One of my favorites, Remy the rat, and Chef Auguste Gusteau is the mentor that comes in and helps the hero Remy get to the end of the film and to reach his potential. Same with all these other fantastic characters. You have in Good Will Hunting, Will Hunting is this kid in need and he's the client. And you have, you know, Sean McGuire coming in and helping him to get to that other side. And that is you as the creative coming into your clients' lives. So if you position yourself as the guide in your personal brand, the expert, that's you, the person who has all the tools your customer needs to achieve their ultimate goal. So what is an expert? That's someone with technical ability, authoritative knowledge, someone who understands systems and processes, someone who can point the customer to clear steps all the way to the result that will save the day and win the prize. If anyone's heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is the pyramid of everything a person needs essentially to survive. And anything that we do really in life falls into this. It's really quite hilarious because what do we need? We need self-actualization, we need self-esteem, we need belonging, we need safety and physiological needs, right? So going back to those logos that we were looking at earlier, those Starbucks and Apple and Target are all tapping in to something, multiple things in this hierarchy chart. So that's ultimately what you're doing as a creator, developing your personal brand, right? The perception that people have of you when you enter into someone's world, into someone else's ecosystem, and you say, oh, I can fix that. I can make sure that you're eating. I can make sure that you're getting your safety. I can give you belongingness. So that's something to consider as you're approaching a customer. So here we are again. Now, if you think about it, what are these logos? What are they saying to you when you look at them? What are they? So when you look at these logos, you can see pretty clearly, safety and belongingness, what they're actually giving. So I actually recommend everybody going off into the world and looking around at just peripherally everything, logos in your life, billboards, just to be really pay attention when you're driving by a building with a logo on it, what that logo is saying to you, and think about what need it's fulfilling in your life. And then you can sort of incorporate that into your personal branding. What need can you fulfill into your customers' lives? So that's the common thread. My company, we do branding work. And these are just a couple of the things that we work on with customers. So we do brand research and competitor audit. We could spend weeks basically jumping into research because we're learning someone's entire world in a very short period of time. And that takes a lot of effort and research, brand strategy, a logo and identity system design. So these are the things: brand messaging, sourcing and activating partnerships, driving traffic, and brand voice development. These all fall under the category of branding. So all of these things, you'll eventually be doing for yourself. And this is, outside of the scope of an hour talk. So I highly recommend everyone, when they leave today, go and research these various things, because you'll be needing to learn them and figure out how to best attack these for yourselves. So I value above all process and systems. So for everyone in this mode of branding themselves, it's important to set your goals and values first and foremost. You want to know where you're going, like an aviator. A good aviator wants to know where they're going when they get in a plane. So set your goals and values, and have your own self-discovery sessions. Figure out who you are and what you want to achieve, and make sure that you're clear and concise, because clarity sells. Clarity is very important when you're in this realm of who you are. You could easily put noise into your own life and just, come up with a million ideas and say, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this person. And, I can also do this thing. But the better you get at narrowing and honing in on that one or two simple goals of who you are, that's going to be very helpful for you, for your success. So going from self-discovery to then defining your audience. Who are we selling to? Who do we want to go after? Are we a freelancer? Do we want to have clients? Do we want to start an agency? So that's who we're selling to, because people are working in these companies. You kind of, it's hard to give you guys an actual pinpoint a storyline here or help with this, because I'd love to know where each and every one of you are in your your journey and what your goals are. And hopefully in the breakaway session, I'll be able to have some conversations with you guys, so we can talk more about that, because I think it'll be helpful. So identify your goals, your tone, your messaging, how you approach people with what you say. What is your purpose, your archetype, your character? So you write your brand story, which we're going to do today a little bit, and see how far we can get through that. And then once you have your brand story and you have all this infrastructure put together, you can then work on your identity systems. If you're a designer, you can create your logo. You can create whatever theme you want. You can create your fonts, colors, textures, and make everything work together in all the various ways that those design systems need to in the world today, where they're up on a digital world, they're in the billboard, they're, IRL. So it's really, it's important to be ubiquitous and have it everywhere, have it be presentable in all these places, and stay on message. Don't deviate from the message. So everything from digital social presence to how you are in person, what you wear, how you present yourself professionally are all things to consider. So I'm going to repeat myself again. Clarity sells. When you go to a website and you want to buy something specific, like LaCroix water, I'm going to go to this website, and if it says some muddled messaging that is, we sell joy in a can with, something about a vacation, and you have a dog and a horse and a pony show and blah blah blah, I'm not gonna buy it. I want someone to say, we have great sparkling water, buy now. I'm gonna click that button. So clarity really sells. I love what I just said to you guys. Okay. Sorry. We're gonna go through a couple different companies right now that I actually admire quite a lot, and I think it'd be fun to just put your brains on. Liquid Death is, speaking of water company, what a segue. Liquid Death is a water company. They sell water. It's designed like alcohol. It caters to all the tattooed, cool folks in Silver Lake. So their positioning statement is wonderful. We're just a funny water company who hates corporate marketing as much as you do. Our evil mission is to make people laugh and get more of them to drink more water more often, all while helping to kill plastic pollution. So why I love this and why it's so relevant to what we're talking about today is that you're catering to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because you're drinking water. So what's that? That's number one in the pyramid, right? So that satisfies the physiological stage. And then also you're helping kill plastic pollution. You're helping save the world ultimately by drinking this funny water. That's like so rad. So it's like, this company can't lose. They know what they're doing. They're really fantastic to take some notes from. I'm just going to play for you quickly one of their trailers.
I'm a professional actor, and I'm getting paid to tell you about a revolutionary new product. For years, a bunch of marketing fuckboys have tricked you into thinking that water is just some girly drink for yoga moms. Just look at all the cute brand names and dainty little bottles. Well, hold on to your hot dogs, because I got news. Water isn't cute. Water is deadly. It kills innocent surfers and snowboarders and kayakers. Every year, water is responsible for thousands and thousands of deaths. Energy drinks only kill, like, what, 1 or 2 kids? So please, don't fall for the marketing bullshit. Water is not yoga. Water is liquid death. And that's why this brand needs to exist, to finally give water the ice-cold can and ice-cold name it deserves. A brand that parents will hate, but kids might love. Liquid Death mountain water. Made from the deadliest stuff on earth. Please, enjoy responsibly.
Okay, so I have to show this to you because it is so radical, right? That it just happened to move. A lot of it's doing quite well. You'll see Liquid Death in all of the stores at your shopping centers. So it's really outrageous, and it kind of talks about positioning. You're catering to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but yet you're rising yourself up above the noise of these different water companies that are doing the same old thing, and you're different, right? So that's one of the most complicated things about personal branding, is trying to be different, because you are, as a creator, in a sea of creators. How do you rise above? That, my friends, will be a journey that you will be dealing with for a very long time. So it's just really fantastic to look at how some people are going and doing their own versions of rising above the noise on their markets. So, okay, so because of time, it's going by, we're gonna skip. If you guys don't know Jackie Stewart, I recommend you look him up, because he's basically, he was born June 11th, 1939, British former Formula One racing driver. He's famous for the champagne squirting in the air after a win. He's probably the best person to look at for a successful personal brand, in terms of learning from people that have been in the business for such a long time and have been so successful, 50 years with the same client, which is Rolex, Budweiser. He's got a lot of wonderful things to say about how to present yourself. So I recommend looking him up. So I should actually give some context behind this document that I'm going to be sharing. So if all of you open this up, what this is it's going to be your development of your brand story. It's a shortened version of the long form, but it's a good start, and something where it will ask you questions that are going to really help you define what it is you're doing and how you're going to start presenting it to whoever it is that you are focused on, within the narrative of, I am a guide and I'm going to make my client the hero. So we're developing a brand story. Once you develop that story, honestly, the naming and the design, all of that will come much easier. Because I'm hearing a lot of you are in the rebranding and the redesigning their logo and all of that. But if you take a step back to sort of figure out, the story aspect, it's going to be very helpful, I think, to define the next part, which is the design phase. So, well, all right. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to have met everyone. And, in closing, just a couple of things that have really helped me find success in my personal world. Prioritizing healthy human connections, valuing yourself, have drive. Remember that enthusiasm motivates people around you, and never stop learning, ever, always learn. So thank you, everyone, for today. It's a pleasure.